All right. Well, that was fun and different, and people are hooray! All right. Thank you, Mustilla, Michael Mama. That was annoying. Already got 4 people in. We're back. We're online. Don't know what happened. The internet has been working great, and then all of a sudden, bam. So we're going for part 2. Bonus round. I don't know what all happened there, but what's up? Gordon's greeting from the mitten. Oh, man. All right. Well, so I lost all the questions that were at that point. So whoever's questions didn't get answered can repost those. Don't know what happened. Internet, I didn't do anything. I didn't press anything. It just came back. So what's up, Nancy? All right. Everything's loading up. Chat's still loading on the phone. I've got you guys lifted up a little bit. I don't know if my laptop was just getting hot or something. So we've got some airspace running underneath it. But we're good. We're all back on. What's up, Jeffrey? Good to see you too. Glad you're back on. So I don't know how long we ran on the first one, but let's give this one maybe 30, 40 minutes, and then I'm going to eat. So anyone who needs their questions answered that didn't get answered on the last one because of the catastrophic failure, just type them back in there and let me see them because I can't go back and see them right now while I'm running this. Wanted to let you know I ordered Golden Oyster Mushroom Kit from you and was wondering if I could email you a couple questions. Absolutely. You'd either do it through the Contact Us page on the website or that'll go to mosscreekmushrooms@gmail.com. Either one's fine. I've noticed since I've started saying that on the chats, I'm getting a large number of spam. So sorry to hear you're backed up on Grain Masters. Me too. And I'm not, but I am. I just don't have the infrastructure to do grain the way I want to do grain. I would like to do grain. Grain is probably the easiest to use end product for the consumer. However, I will say that because I'm set up to do liquid culture, and liquid culture is what I'm good at and what I'm really, really liking, I am working on a maybe I should have answered that. That was Ben. I am working on a labless liquid culture system kit that I'll be selling and then teaching classes on where like through live streams where people can work with me in their kitchen setups and do liquid culture without any HEPA filters. All you need is a pressure cooker. And I think that that's going to really change things for people. And that'll make liquid culture a lot like where people can just create their own grain spawn, which will be cheaper for them, much, much cheaper for them anyways. And I think it'll be a better product in the end run than straight up grain spawn. So I'm not sure if I want to invest in large scale grain spawn manufacturing. We'll see. Hey, Rowan, what's going on? And hey, welcome, Jerome. Nice to see you. No moss in my beard yet. No, not yet. It's getting there. There's moss in my truck. Actually, I found lichens. Lichens are growing in my mirror housing and down my truck and everything else. So I did pressure wash all this black growth off of my truck, but I studiously avoided any moss or lichens. I'm going to just let them eat my truck. Is the video fuzzy? It's not fuzzy for me or on my test stream that I'm doing right here. You and I should talk about the whole proposal of grain and LC. Then give me a call, darling. You know my number. Okay, we'll do that today. Name's Chris, by the way, so I'm not a total stranger. Well, hello, Chris. I'm Andrew. Nice to meet you. Yeah, Nancy, I think it does sound good. I'm hoping that having a way to do lab work without a HEPA filter, like where people could just do it straight up in their kitchen. And I'm talking about like even potentially being able to pull from Agar and never opening a jar of liquid culture and exposing it to the elements. Like, I think there's going to be good ways to go with this. I know that I've done needle biopsies of mushrooms in the field into liquid culture, and it worked great. So there's a lot of cool stuff we're working on. Why do you sell LC for mail order instead of spore prints? Prints can be shipped in letters, but LC requires parcels. Because most people don't know how to use spores. But liquid culture is really easy for people to use. Plus, it's a product that I can use really easily myself. Interesting. Test stream went all wonky. But it's back now. Okay, starting a side gig playing in mushies. Starting with Agar having fun in a still air box. Got a couple plates. T2 that would push the lid off if I let them. Is it worthwhile to continue to transfer? Yeah, you still can. You can still transfer even from dishes that have that much growth in them. Lichens in your truck, like lycanthrope, as in werewolves. That would be neat. I would totally be a werewolf before I'd be a vampire. Though it would be immortality? I don't know. Anyways, that's not important. Lichen as in, you know what I'm talking about. The plant fungus symbiote. Was that little Samantha? That was little Samantha. She was eating her pals. Hi, I've been following your channel for more than a month now. I've learned a lot. First time participating in your live stream. Welcome, Jim. Glad to see you. Welcome to your first time. Is it easier or less time to just clone the best producing fruits? Your best producing fruits. So it's not like plants where the best producing fruits is going to have seeds that are any different. So a tomato has seeds. If you choose from your best tomato plants every time and save the seeds from that, then you get better tomato plants, right? With this, it's not so much the same. That could be microclimate. It could be the way it was cut. It could be any number of things. But that clone is going to be genetically identical from the clone that mushroom came from, except for it's going to be older. So it's actually not better to do that, in my opinion. I am still a kitchen setup for now. Have a hard time obtaining a HEPA filter. Yeah, that's where a lot of people, most people use still air boxes. And I'm thinking that for any kind of Agar work, you'll still want that still air box. But if you'll have a simplified version of that where you can buy liquid culture and make liquid culture and expand your liquid culture without ever having it exposed to air, not having to use a cramped still air box or anything like that would be a worthwhile kit. So if I had lessons on that and then a kit that I could sell that those lessons are taught off of, people could build their own kits all they wanted to. They wouldn't have to rely on me for that. But they could get a ready-made kit and then just follow the instructions in the videos. And I think that would shortcut people's pathway to success really quickly. So I think it would be a really good product and an affordable product. It would be way more affordable than a HEPA filter setup or even the time investment of learning Agar. So I'll definitely try to get that out as quickly as I possibly can. Part of that is this liquid culture lid video I'm working on right now. I'm editing. Took the footage 2 days ago, I think. So just showing how I manufacture my liquid culture lids so that people can do it at home. I am selling the liquid culture lids on the website, but you don't have to buy those if you want to make them. You can make them for about half the cost is what I'm selling them for. They're all going to labs everywhere for testing. Nancy, there are not any around because of the craziness. Oh, right. Yeah, the HEPA filters. Yeah, I've tried to buy them. They're very difficult to find right now. You can still get them from Fungi Perfecti. In fact, for my private lab that I'll be doing, the production lab will be getting my old HEPA filter. My private lab, I'm going to be just buying a filter, buying a fan unit, and then Ben and I are going to build it here in the shop. Probably going to do a video on it just for you guys. Just so you guys know, every time we do a video on something, it takes like 10 times as long to make that thing. So it's not like making videos is like the easiest thing in the world for us, which is why they're kind of slowed down right now. But it is important to me to keep those coming out. So when I go home tonight, I'm not going to get finished with 3,000 tomatoes going into plug packs. But I'll start on those, and then when I sit down for my evening cigar, I'll be sitting down and editing a video. I have a question. How wet does the floor get in your grow room just from the humidity, not from the hosing during cleaning? Usually not very wet at all. Right now, I'm still dialing in the humidity on these new rooms. Plus, we don't have the real doors put on there yet. And our humidifier lid is a modified one that we scavenged from the old op. So it's actually a little leaky. So I do have a little bit of water on the floor right now. It's not much. It's a very small puddle. Normally, I don't have a problem at all, though, with that dry fog. Come on. It's almost 1 a.m. on my side in France now. I stop. Enjoy the live, interesting questions and answers, lovely community. Hey, take care, Curiosity. Sorry that I kept you up so late. By the way, I'd like to come to France one day. Will you still use your basement for mushroom growing, or will it become a man cave? So, Saltine, what I'm looking at right now is using the downstairs operation. Right now, everything is staying in there just in case everything goes to hell and we have to collapse back to the house. Unlikely, but we're starting already on working on the plans. I'm going to make it a entertainment space for when we have my big clan dinners all the time. We're always like, we're usually taking over a church somewhere or a park or something like that. And we do that a lot. And if I had that entire downstairs set up to serve food, which we could probably just serve food in my kitchen because we've taken out all the mushroom stuff from that too. So we can serve food in my kitchen and then have the downstairs for board games, or the kids can hang out there while the adults are talking upstairs. Because, I got a ton of cousins and second cousins and third cousins and all that stuff. And hey, I just got a notification. My ducklings and goslings shipped and will be here at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it's not going to be a man cave. It's probably going to be a family space. We talked about doing that here and reserving some space for that, but I would rather just really make this a center for manufacturing and production, and then make my home my social space. So there may be a gaming center like Xbox or something good is down there in the downstairs, but definitely won't be man cave. This is my man cave. That. I love that. Will you ever offer dehydrated fungi to order on your website? We've talked about it. Actually, with everything that's going on and people like the meat shortage, which, is a debatable thing. But with the shocks to the system, a lot of people getting into prepping. Samantha and I we're not prepped. We have low-key turbulent time security. I don't know what you would call it. Like, I'm not somebody, I don't stack up. I don't own an AR. I don't have a field surgery kit, at my home or anything like that. But I do have a small food supply. I have water purification. Mainly that was because if I ever lost my job, I never wanted to have to worry about food. We have rent put back, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to get into prepper space. But going back to the dehydrated fungi, something for a food supply that we do is we have a 5-gallon bucket with a 5-gallon Mylar bag, and we have dehydrated mushrooms put into that, closed up and then closed up in a bucket. And Samantha was talking to some people, and they really wanted that. So we're thinking about offering 5-gallon buckets of that, and then like small packs of dehydrated mushrooms for different people of different types. I mean, I also make capsules for myself just for the amino acids and everything for a daily boost. And I take days where I'm lifting weights. I take a triple dose of my oyster mushrooms capsules. And then every other day I double the dose of my hericiums. And then I have like a regular dose on the on day. I have an on day, off day kind of thing. So we are talking about it. I have to look into what the commercial kitchen requirements are for shipping dehydrated products. I don't think there's much. Just got my order from today from Shroom Supply. Agar for water, Agar work, and LME for liquid culture work. Code word Mossy. Hey, Jerome, thanks, man, for using that. I know Ryan really gets a kick out of it whenever. In fact, they gave me a gift card one time because they had so many orders coming in using the code word Mossy. That's the only kickback I've ever gotten from them. But I appreciate you guys supporting Ryan. I really like Ryan, and he's done everything he can to make me successful. So, Rowan, do you like the red heavy-duty injection ports, or do they all work well? It is so funny. I was editing that part of my video last night. Yes, the heavy-duty ones are good. The not heavy-duty ones suck. Don't waste your money. It's literal change to get the heavy-duty. Get the heavy-duty. Yeah, the rest of that I'll just say for the video, I guess, because my liquid culture lid video is coming out within days. Filters, gloves, alcohol, gowns, mask, all going to necessary response. We need to experiment with Mike and COVID. I would be interested in doing some of those experiments. I'm not a biosecure lab, so I don't know. I'm not, I'm not even a rated lab at this point. Got to get certified over here. Just bought some Hepas from Filter Guru, no problem. Good. Some places still have, there are still warehouses with it there. It's just finding who's got them, who doesn't. Filter Guru, good. How do you keep the plastic sheeting clean in your grow rooms? Pressure washer. We use a 1500 PSI electric pressure washer. Very mobile, very easy to carry around with you. And bleach, 5% bleach solution in a pesticide sprayer. Little pesticide pump sprayer. Can you put the link, John, please? I don't think people can put links in here, can they? You might be able to copy it as plain text and separate the .com from it or something. If you do it, it will probably require me to say that it can be shown. Because I'll tell you, Michael Mama, your language makes it to where I have to constantly click show or your comments won't show up. How do I order shiitake culture from you? Nalani, it would be at mossycreekmushrooms.com. I don't know. I don't know that I have a shiitake culture listed yet because I was going to wait till I had the videos of it up to do that. So, roll on the floor, laughing. My turbulent time security. I'm making that into a T-shirt. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. My entire clan is pretty military minded. Most of my cousins and whatever. They all build ARs. They all know all that kind of stuff. As soon as all this stuff happened, one of my cousins immediately went up to my Nana's and put in a huge, expanded the family garden plot out to twice its size. My family is all very responsive to taking care of each other and having that turbulent time security. So the way I looked at it, Michael Mama, was that some of my friends are Mormon, and none of my family is Mormon or anything like that. But some of my friends are Mormon, and man, they are so on it. It's like a commandment to them that they have money put back for. I think they start off with 1 month's worth of finances, then 3 months, then a year's worth of finances put back. They're supposed to invest. They teach them how to invest and save. They tithe. Then they talk about having food security. They try to have homes set up and people who can garden. I think the Mormon Church is one of the largest owners of agricultural land in the United States. They take care of each other, big time. And it's really interesting because it's my family does all the same kind of similar stuff, just on a much, much smaller scale because we're a clan, not a, all that kind of stuff. I would stock up on meat just in case. If nothing bad happens, you want to buy meat for a while. That's exactly what I did. I went so now they're rationing it here. Every time you go, you get 2 items per customer. And it's you can get a thing of chicken or a thing of beef, one of each or something like that. Good luck finding it though, man. When I went 3 days ago, they had 1 pack of steaks, and they were not a steak I've ever bought before. Or even seen at the Walmart or whatever. They had tomahawk steaks, which that was a couple weeks ago. Luckily, they had tons of chicken thighs because my family eats chicken thighs. We don't tend to eat chicken breast. We eat thighs. So they had plenty of that, but the chicken breast was gone. It was interesting how little meat there was. But it's been good for mushroom business because people are well, there's no meat, but there is mushrooms, and mushrooms have protein, and That's been really good for the mushroom business side of things. So there we go. Stock up on meat and stock up on mushrooms. Mortal Virus, I got your email. I will check it out. But I see that you sent it. Turbulent Time Security should be a t-shirt. I would, just want to say I love the channel from SoCal. Hey, thank you very much. Glad to see somebody from the other side of the country, man. Is there a problem with perpetuating grain spawn week after week, like 1 jar to 5, repeating every week? No, to a point. You can do it. If you're really clean, you can get a whole bunch of transfers going. The problem is grain spawn is never completely clean. It's only a certain type of clean, right? A certain amount clean. So as time goes on, you're dealing with your competitors are starting to build over and over again. Hey, guys, that you're being very distracting. And he better not be hurting you. Sorry, let me go back up. There's not a problem with it until there is. And when there is, it's usually a catastrophic failure. So I usually go 3 expansions and done. But you can go, and I don't mean 3 expansions like 1 jar to 3 grain bags. I mean, we do 1 grain jar to usually 2. We usually do. Hey, both of you come here. Right now, come. How about you plank right there? You plank right there. Awesome, thank you. You guys can do this until I'm satisfied that you can be quiet. I don't want to hear any whining either. All right, so remember I told you guys that was a live stream. I warned you. So let's see. Is there so anyways, okay, I go from like 1 grain jar, it's like 1 pound of spawn, and I can go to like 5 pound grain bags. And then I can do that. Each one of those I'll do 1 to 5 bags again, and then whatever's left over in my grain spawn will get put into fruiting blocks. And then again and again. You can do that like 3 times. That's what I do just because I like that level of cleanliness. I could go further. Like I've done 8 to 9 of them, and they've been a problem. What, Samantha? They've been yelling at each other, stop, and fighting, and then fighting. You're okay. It's not your fault. So, hey, Aislinn, now is not the time.
All right, you two come with me.
Thank you, Samantha.
Go to the bathroom for 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. So have you ever grown any bioluminescent fungi? Yes. And it has been really fun to grow. You have to, typically most of them are only seen in the dark, right? It has to make it really dark, and then your eyes have to adjust, and then you can see the bioluminescent fungi. But for sure, you can grow it. Grows on masters. Most of them grow on masters mix. Panaleus stypticus is one of the most common ones, and it grows really well in masters mix. Watanabe Mushroom Farm. Hello, back to you. We aren't under the law of tithe anymore. Are you Mormon, Jeffrey? Oh, Jeffrey Moorman. No way. Is that really? Have I just not caught on to that? Chicken thighs. Yum, yum. My fave. Yes. Chicken thighs are so... Dark meat's always better. Thanks. Taking apart a computer power supply to build a stir plate. Love that idea. Yeah, man, it works great. It works really, really well. Though I'm really enjoying the ones I've been buying. The price on them has come down so much. For a good stir plate, like $40, $30-$40 off Amazon. But I mean, power supply and a magnet, and you can build one for like $5-$6. So it's still way cheaper to build your own. Arizona checking in. Welcome. Love your channel. My family is from Middle Tennessee, and I was hooked on the video where you had a hard time saying narrow. Yeah, fair enough. The Tennessee comes out sometimes, and it's hard to speak like normal people. Ben makes fun of me all the time because I say his name wrong all the time. And I say it Ben, right? His name's Ben. And he says, no, you're saying it like it's spelled B-I-N. said, say ban, which he'll say that whenever I say ban is BAN. He said, say it like it's BEN. I say, okay, BEN, Ben. He said, no, say it ban. And I was like, ban. And he's like, no, it's, you're saying it wrong. So it doesn't really matter. The point is, apparently I can't say his name properly. He said it's the difference between pen, and pan. To which pen, and pan, right? He says that I'm not saying a difference between the middle one. He's saying that my PEN still is pronounced like PIN. Doesn't matter. I can see my numbers already going down for this discussion. Point is, narrower is a hard word to say. My S75 blocks are 6 weeks old. Popcorn is just starting to brown. Some are already producing mushrooms inside the bag. Did not reduce supplementation. Do you think it's time to put in the fruit? So S75 is not one that I'm super familiar with. From my understanding, it's an early fruiter. And so with that, I don't know. I don't ever fruit my shiitake until they're at least 8 weeks old, sometimes 10 weeks. But it's been 2 years since I've grown them. So now I'm growing 3790 is what I have in spawn right now. 3782s in spawn. The Chinese shiitake that everybody's going crazy for in the commercial circles, I'm growing that now in spawn. And then I have a Japanese strain that I picked up from somebody on the down low that is supposed to be a nice Japanese commercial strain. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. The caps look woolly and beautiful. So we'll see how that goes. Just so you know that I don't have any early fruiting strains that I've tried. And so I'm not sure what's going on with those. I can't really tell you, but I know Paul Stamets is supposed to got one that has supposed to fruit before it even turns brown. And I've not seen yields on that. I've not tried that one. That's just what I've heard. So wonderful to see you still kicking on. Heck yeah, man. I'm kicking on more than ever. This, I hate to say it this way, but hey guys, you're being really loud. So I hate to say this, but I think all the turbulence out in the world, like I had a 2-week dip, and then all of a sudden things have been hitting harder than ever. Like I've got more online orders than I know what to do with. My fresh mushroom sales have picked up. I've got a CSA going now. That's my own CSA. I've got a CSA I'm a part of. I've got restaurants coming back online harder than what they were before. The restaurants that had been open this whole time have been up and up in their orders. Like, I hate to say this, but I know a lot of people are having a hard time, but my business is doing better than ever. Definitely had like a 2-week slump. And then after that, it's like a rebound like crazy. I think people are just getting where they want to know where their food's coming from. So I think that being a farmer is going to be really good for the next little bit. So yeah, I'm kicking on like crazy. And my chat, like all of a sudden there was like nothing. Like I was near the bottom of my chat and it just grew by like a bunch. So holy crap. Do you have something like a grow plan to make sure to have mushrooms for your customers? You have always different types, a lot to manage, like your story, Austrian greetings. Well, hello Austria, from East Tennessee. I do have a grow plan. Samantha and I, we have a whiteboard that we sit there and we chart out cycles that we want to follow. So we have miniature cycles, like we have a weekly cycle happens every day. We have a daily cycle that happens every day. And then we have planting cycles, and those range from weekly cycles to weekly cycles to yearly cycles. So we have like weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And then we plot all of this stuff out on a whiteboard. Actually, I've been thinking about doing a video to where I'm like talking to the camera and then having one looking down at the whiteboard, and I can actually draw out the way I would normally plan something and plot something out. So I might do that, but yeah, you have to do that. There's no way to keep up with everything. So what I always try to do is systematize it. So I try not to do it by the customer. I always try to do a certain amount and then do, man, I feel like something bit me on the back of the neck. So you have, I want to grow 100 pounds of shiitake, right? Something like that. And so I know I've got to plant this many blocks every week. I know that I'm going to have to plant them for at least 8 weeks before I can start fruiting them. And then I know at that point I will have to keep this many in storage. And then I'll look at how many blocks I can keep in storage and I adjust my numbers. And you have to do that balance back and forth constantly. And usually it's a target income that we try to do, and which then leads us to a target mushroom load, which then leads us to the planting cycle. So it's working your way backwards. If you haven't read my article on mossycreekmushrooms.com, look up mossycreekmushrooms.com, the importance of working backwards. That kind of gives you a very brief glimpse into my mindset of always pick your target and then work your way back from your target to your where your starting location is. That float, steel float, it was in the steamer. It's what was causing it to flood earlier. It filled up with water and it wouldn't rise back up. So that's why it's over there. It's for Ben. Yeah. Oh, cuteness. Oh, my daughter must have been around. It's May the 4th. Is today the 4th?
Yes.
That's right. Because the ducks and geese are coming in on the 5th. Man, and my birthday's coming up. Yeah. Nobody's going to know my birthday. Unless you get Samantha to tell you somehow. Let's see. Awesome beard. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. Bitter mush. Love it. Bitter. Who's got bitter mush? I've been able to make around 150 grain jars, grain to grain. Always have to toss some dirty jars, but it does work. All started from one jar. Yeah, I mean, you can go from a little piece of tissue to millions of pounds of mushrooms. It's just about your technique and your infrastructure. Mormon is my last name. A little similar sounding, but not the same spelling. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, that's why I thought it was your last name. Then, what do you mean that you are no longer under the law of tithe? As in, you left the church, or the church is no longer requiring the law of tithe? Because I knew some people, they couldn't go to temple because they didn't have their tithe paid or something like that. Chicken thighs are delicious. I normally cut them up into 1-inch cubes, soak them in soy sauce, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. Oh my gosh. With my lunch sitting over there, you were making my mouth water like crazy. Holy crap. Ugh. Now I am considering eating in front of you guys. You can increase the bioluminescence of the bitter mushroom. Oh, the bitter mushrooms, got you. But the Stypticus by 10 times by lowering the pH of the substrate. Really? I'm going to look that up. That sounds great. And hello Montreal from East Tennessee. Not the same thing, no. Well, I am not a Mormon. My last name is Morman, and I'm a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, not a Mormon. Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Hey, man. Oh, my goodness. This chat is going crazy. I'm having such a hard time keeping things good. Hey, man, do you do any martial arts? Used to. I haven't in a long time. Wrestling, I used to do a lot of wrestling, and I'm talking like back hold, some jiu-jitsu, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I don't know much about that. Like really, like I had guys who were high-ranking belts who would come wrestle with me and show me stuff, but I didn't have anything like that. I trained with a buddy of mine up in Greenville for some striking arts. It's been a long time. It's been 2 or 3 years. Now my martial art, I get up every morning and I lay down on my back and I throw a ball at a target on the ceiling 50 times on my left hand, 50 times on my right. And then I do a ball toss back and forth, not just one, but I'll do 2 or 3 where like I'm tossing them up in the air and keeping up with them. And then I stand and I'll toss up in the air, 50 times this hand, 50 times this hand, do crosses, left, right, left, right, right, left, that kind of thing. Do that 150 times. And then I do 3 balls and I juggle 150 times for that. And then I do a right over arc and left over. And so that's kind of taking the place of my martial arts training now, is just like throwing arts, like I do axe throws and stuff like that somewhat. Not much. I'm not like great at axe throws anymore, but yeah, I do. I've interested in martial arts, but not like crazy talented at it or anything like that. Definitely a lover first and a fighter second, fighter last maybe. I find that when you're a 6 foot tall, 315-pound man who can single arm press 88 pounds over your head, not really. I don't think I've fought anybody since boot camp. I think boot camp was the last time I've gotten in a fist fight. So don't need it as much. Ever tried shocking your fruiting substrates? Page not to, so I have not. We had this conversation on part 1. I have not fruited it. I've actually got an experiment that I'm wanting to run using different wavelengths, frequencies, and power, where I want to run a line under the agar in a dish. I'm still working out how to do it and keep it sterile and still use the infrastructure I have while building the minimum amount of infrastructure for this experiment. But we want to take the oscilloscope and actually watch and alter the waveforms and see if the mycelium responds at all to certain voltages, certain power, and different types of waveforms. So I don't know. We'll see. Ben is messing with you. I say it right. Okay. I don't know. Like he's from out west. His family's all out west people, and so they have a very different way of speaking than though he's adopted Tennessee. And now, hello, did I miss anything? Hey, Dune, what's going on? I didn't even read your name when I was reading the question. Welcome to the chat. You missed a lot, but not anything of consequence that you can't catch up on. What would you tell yourself now with your knowledge? What would you tell yourself at the start of your journey with what you know now? So really, before I would start with any technical information, I would really want to change my mindset. Adam, if you're watching that, I'll call you back, or watching this. I would want to know mindset changes. Like, I would want to do like the importance of working backwards. Ben's series, Mycological Warfare. If I was a newbie, I would be shoving that in my own face so hard. Basically, like to really work on simplifying things, and working on infrastructure. I used to be the kind of person who would like buy ducklings, right? And then try to figure out how to make a brooder on the fly. And now I'm the kind of person who will build the brooder, build the infrastructure out, and then get the ducklings, that kind of thing. So that would be the big thing, is focus on the infrastructure, plotting, planning, design work. That design work is like a sacred task of humanity and should be treated as such, right? So it'd all be philosophical stuff I'd be shoving in my face instead of technical. Because I have found that as my mind has changed, and I'm a very different person now than I was when I first started growing mushrooms. As my mind has changed and taken shape, my business has flourished. So that would be the kind of stuff I would be like, read Smarter, Better, Faster, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book helped me so much in business. I can't even remember everything else, but there's a lot like that kind of stuff. It would all be philosophical. It would all be mindset oriented. Is it possible that I'm hearing birds in the background? It is very possible. You might be hearing my ducklings. They are just on that side of the red doors. Plus, I've got all my bay doors open. There's 3 on this side and 1 on that wall. And we have a huge field out back. And I'm getting my telephoto lens out, and I've been taking pictures of like red-winged blackbirds and all kinds of stuff. So you're absolutely probably hearing birds. Plus, we have some birds nesting in not inside, but on our cover that goes over our docks. There's some birds that are nesting in the I-beams, some swallows. Bought some agar with malt extract and yeast. The gentleman at the store told me it was suitable for my use. Thoughts? I never saw anybody use yeast in their agar. No, people use yeast in their agar. Absolutely. I do too. Hydroxy QC. He sounds like, oh my gosh. Everything's moving again. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, I agree with that. And people, with nut yeast and strains and stuff like that. Yeah, my strains love it. Golly, I cannot read hardly. Grow plan vid would be great. What do you mean a grow plan vid? Explain to me what you mean by that. You want how? What I was talking about where I plot out stuff. Okay, I will work on that. That will go on the list. That one actually be a pretty easy one to do. It'd just be simple cuts and paste. How old are you going to be on your birthday? I will be 34. You ever dealt with a black area where the caps overlie on white elm or pearl strains? It looks like, well, yes. Samantha hates that stuff. It is really, it can be really prevalent in elms and things like that. Usually it comes from letting them mature too long. Meant to type bitter oyster. Yeah, I figured that out after a second. Learned many things from you, bro. Thank you very much. You're very welcome, Aaron. I hope that I continue to be helpful to you. Let's see. Well, guys, I know I said 40 minutes and my lunch is sitting here, but we're kind of killing it. We've got almost 50 people in here. We might as well just keep pumping this stuff out. Sleeping Cracker, the magic kind. Let's see. Did you ever use polyfill or micropro tape starting out? Yes, and I hated it. And in fact, the part that I was editing my video last night about the liquid culture lids talks about why I hate micropore tape and polyfill, and only will be using syringe filters going forward. How to cure senescence, bro? You're probably not experiencing senescence. You are probably experiencing enzyme blindness. Get your mushrooms off of sugary substrates and put them on some wood. Just for, and then sector, like let it grow out and sector from that. Judging by your forearms, you probably would be a good pro arm wrestler. It's the kettlebells, man. Like they, I've actually been making that a thing where like my dad, I beat my dad in an arm wrestle. That's crazy. My dad is crazy dense and crazy muscular. He's got, he's 50 something years old. He's got a pot belly now a little bit, but man is still like solid muscle. And I beat him in a arm wrestle. That was a moment for me, right? I beat my dad. It's crazy. All right. Good. Got 2 strains to grain and did a bunch of transfers last night. Congratulations. Thank you very much for sharing that. Can see how this can get out of hand quickly. It can so quick. Before you will ever know it, you will have more work than you should ever have on your plate. How would you go about converting a typical bedroom into a grow room? Thanks, man. Great content. You're awesome. That is something I actually covered more in consults than this kind of thing because it's such an open-ended question. I will give you some basics to follow, which would be you don't want water on your floor, so you're going to want to lay down a vapor barrier on the bottom. You're going to want negative pressure because you don't want to push air into your grow room. You want to suck air out instead and let air naturally flow in to take its place. If you push air into your grow room, it's going to positive pressure it. Spores are going to leak out of every hole in your grow room. That's going to get all in your house. Not really worried so much about your house as I am your lung health. I got, when I first started out, I didn't know all this stuff, and I got spore lung really bad. And it was like the worst case of the flu that I had ever had, still have ever had, and went on for like 4 months. Until it's just the worst case of the flu that will never go away. Fevers, chills, achy bones. Till we finally figured out what it was. It was mushroom spores. And so I started wearing a mask. All of a sudden, cleared up right away. But it wasn't until the doctor asked me what I did for a living and why I was having these problems that we figured it out. He's like, "Oh, you've got mushroom lung." How would you go? Yep, there we go. Yeah, I've already just answered that one. That's what I'm saying. This chat is really weird. Can you see how this can get out of it? Can see how, oh, never mind. I just read that too. Ugh. Seminary, boot camp, spider breeding, jack of all trades over here. I've done a lot of stuff. The good news is, you read like the history of Jack London or Vanderbilt or a bunch of different famous people from the past, right? And they all bounced around too. So there's hope for me for bouncing around. And here's the thing. You say jack of all trades, and yeah, sure, a jack of all trades. Failed out of seminary, failed out of boot camp, right? So one of those things stuck. How much yield do you get from your combs tooth or lion's mane, average per block? So 12-pound Master's Mix block, and you want average. Probably 3.5 pounds is my average on comb tooth and lion's mane. My comb tooth, though, regularly, that would be a low average for my comb tooth. My comb tooth is normally... I regularly pull 4 to 5 pound mushrooms off of my comb tooth blocks for the first flush. and they just keep spitting out mushrooms. I'll let my comb tooth sometimes fruit 9 times. It's the only mushroom I'll let really sit in my grow room. Thank you for your response. It was great. I'm looking into growing mushrooms, and I'm trying to start out right now, and I'm looking into building a steamer. Yeah, sauna steamers are great. Sauna steamers are good plug-and-play options. You got to move a jumper on the circuit board. I don't remember what jumper it was, but Ben knows. But you can look it up. It's really easy. And 9 kilowatt steamers, I think, are only like $200 for the steamer. Pay $300 for a 300 gallon stock tank, some PEX pipe, and bam, you're in business. The red-winged blackbirds are awesome. Man, I love them. They're fantastic. We got killdeer here, red-winged blackbirds. You know, we're right on the creek. We're right on Mossy Creek, so we got right on a wetland. Got a big field here. So it's like a whole bunch of different habitats, all kinds of different animals that we're seeing. So it's pretty slick. How many different types of fresh mushrooms do you have now on stock to sell? How many kilos, pounds? If I would be a restaurant, for example, sorry, my English. No, don't worry about your English. I'm sorry for my English. Plus, I like that name, Maria. I don't know how much I have in the fridge right now. If you want, I will grab you, and I will not be able to mess with the chat while I'm doing this. But oh man, I'm starting to get settled. My bones. So we got mushrooms here. And have mushrooms growing here, but not as many. We mainly have black pearl right there, black poplar over there, and then I don't know. You guys didn't see this there. This was very early. Check out that maitake. Man, that thing is growing dense. I know nothing about growing maitake. It's my first one I've ever grown, but it is my favorite eating mushroom, so I'm pretty excited to be doing it. Who keeps leaving this open? If I had to guess, it'd be my wife. We're probably fighting each other. Me going and closing it, her going and opening it. So that right there, I saw boxes and boxes of mushrooms ready to be picked. So they'll be, I don't know, we'll probably have 200 pounds out of that in the next day or two. Hey, Spore Addict, what's going on? Just finished grad school. Now I can get back to becoming a mushroom farmer. Good time to do it, man. Business is up. It's booming. Currently raising sheep, goats, ducks, hydroponic veggies on our small farm. Tilapia growing out and just getting into mushrooms. Does the business part ever get easier? It's our biggest challenge. So that's a good question, Chris. What business part are you struggling with? Yes, the business part can get very easy. I will say that everyone else started really freaking out when the COVID hit. And I had a freak out moment myself. My sales definitely slumped for about 2 weeks. But everybody started getting into home delivery and all these different things, and they started scrambling for ways to survive through this for their restaurants. Because I've been really dialing in the business side for the past 2 or 3 years for the mushroom op, I've really focused and leaned into how does a businessman work. I don't want to just be a farmer, right? I remember watching a show called Longmire, and he was talking to these 2 farmers. They said something about we're farmers, losing's a way of life, right? And I was like, no, oh my gosh. If I ever got myself into a lifestyle that was a losing way of life, I'd get out. I'd jump ship so quick. So I was like, that makes me think that we ought to treat farming like a business. And I don't mean big business. One thing about small business is that small business really encourages stewardship, right? And that's what I think of myself more than anything. If I was to take on an identity, I would take on the identity of a steward more than any other identity I can think of. I'm not a mushroom farmer. I'm a steward of mushrooms, right? I'm not a businessman. I'm a steward of a business. I'm not a father. I'm a steward of children. You know, like it's and those things. I mean, I'm still all of those things, but it's that being a steward and having everything set up and where I had gotten to that easier point. when all this stuff hit, it really gave me time to sit back and think instead of scrambling. And so the answer is yes. And once it gets easier to make it easier. And then it gets easier to make it easier. But you have to really focus on it. You can't hate the dollar. You can't hate wealth building. You can't hate any of that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that you do. I'm just kind of going off my own. You asked me a question, it triggered me. So I'm kind of going off on that. But I see the chat's moving, and you've said some stuff. So I guess I'll get off my little high horse there. But yeah, it does get easier. And there's a reason, like they talk about how poor get poorer and the rich get richer. And it's because once you start a trajectory, it gets easier to stay on that trajectory. The more momentum you build up. So if you find yourself poor and getting poorer, it's time to change trajectories. And sometimes you have to lose ground to gain ground. And I'm not, I don't know your business. It's not like you're a consult where you've been able to tell me where you're at and where you're wanting to go and how to get there and that kind of stuff. And so I don't know enough about you to really give you any advice, but I feel you. Like I really feel you about the business part, because for a long time I wanted to be a farmer and not a businessman. And it wasn't until I became a businessman who farms that stuff really got easier for me. Oh yeah, I did first Agar to grain this week. Heck yeah. Good job, Campbell. Yeah, man. I'm liking seeing these people taking steps. That's great. Hell yeah. What size type of test tube would you recommend using for slants? I don't use test tubes. I use 50 milliliter centrifuge tubes, sterile centrifuge tubes. If you go and you look on my channel, I've got a video where I make Agar slants. I actually have those tubes listed in there. It's an Amazon affiliate link. Doesn't cost you anything else. It does support me. Do that with that what you will. Do you only run 12-pound bags for all your grows? Yes. That is what we have standardized on. I love standards. Oh my gosh, I love standards. You're very welcome, $signs. Maitake, yes. Yeah, love maitake. Oh my gosh, I love eating that mushroom. I cannot wait till that one's ready. Maria. You are a great guy. Thanks for sharing. You're very welcome, and thank you for calling me a great guy. I like to think I'm all right. Wife and I are both introverts. That's what drove us to the farm life. Makes it hard for us to go out and push our stuff. Sitting at farmers market is soul crushing. That is one thing about running a business. I am not as introverted as Samantha or Ben, but it was soul crushing for Samantha until it wasn't. And now she misses market. She misses market and I don't. I was the extrovert. Now I want to stay home and not I'll tell you what, I get so many phone calls, emails, text messages, just all day long. And I love you guys for it. But sometimes I want to hide away and just play Xbox for a little bit and not talk to anybody. You know what I mean? So I really, is what it is there. Do you ever PC syringes or just use fresh always? Cost per unit for you source. I don't remember my cost per unit off the top of my head for the actual syringe. I think I know how much it cost me. I know the cost per unit to make a liquid culture syringe and send it out. But I don't remember the exact cost of a syringe. I buy them by the box of 100. I think it's $15 for a box of 100 syringes, $8 for a box of 100 needles. And no, I don't normally PC them because I get them so cheap and it's a standard product for me, and I buy them by the case. I buy 100 pack boxes by the case. We're about to start buying by the pallet. In fact, I'm thinking about starting to try putting on my website where you guys can purchase from me the exact stuff I use. I don't ever want to get into the business of supplying everything for everyone, but if I am going to purchase pallets of this stuff, why don't I just throw it on the website and try to give it to you guys at as fair a price as I possibly can? Even if I'm breaking even, the cash flow game would keep my people, get them more hours, will take care of them, make sure that they have a resiliency built into it. So that's really the kind of things I'm kind of considering is, plus it would push, if I make my profit off liquid culture sales and then sell you guys stuff at cost, basically for me, maybe marked up a few pennies or something like that to make sure, my wage slaves get paid. like you guys would be helping me keep those guys employed while at the same time, I'd be profiting off the more liquid culture sales. Plus, I'd be a good place to get bulk supplies. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how I can serve you guys best and really provide value for you all other than just videos, because, the videos are good, but it doesn't pay the bills to keep my people employed. So, but Chris, I feel you on the liquid culture. Oh, apparently someone else does. Fun Squid says. Stewardship. I really like that. Food for thought. Yeah, it's really difficult. The good news is that if you think about it, a steward is not someone who's going to make the easy choices, right? They're going to go, okay, I struggle in this area, and I've done this myself like lots of times. So I'm not telling you to do something I wouldn't do myself. I am really weak in certain areas, right? I used to be really weak at saving money, for instance. I used to be really weak at managing money. I used to be really weak at all kinds of things. But a steward makes the hard choice, right? They bite the bullet now so they don't have to later. And that may be something you're going to have to do. Or sit down and really do the sacrificial work of creating a system. Not doing it more traditional method, like doing CSA and CSA drop-offs, focusing more on the digital advertising venues. You got to think like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all kinds of places. This is cheap real estate, right? This is my cheapest advertising real estate that I can find. So maybe you set up a system more like that where you get to put out words and you don't have to worry about constant interaction with people, which you find draining as an introvert. And that's the kind of way a steward would look at it, right? And so I think that it is some food for thought. Maybe that'll help you. Like it's definitely learning to cheerfully take on the soul crushing work. There was a time for a while where every time the phone would ring, I'd like flinch because I was starting to get so drained. I had at that point we knew it was time for me to institute 9 to 5 hours, right? Which I recognize I'm working at 7:45 here right now, but 9 to 5 hours, I scheduled this earlier in the day. I knew I was going to be doing this, so I took some time off in the middle of the day to make sure that I was going to be able to do this. So, anyways, I never PC'd syringes, but I have sucked boiling water into them. Yeah, that I have seen people do that. I've never done that. Stewardship, bringing it back to the Bible, we are stewards of the earth. My parents got me a hat when I graduated high school. Genesis, I can't remember. Some for man take dominion over the earth, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, the all the things that creepeth across the earth. That had that hat, and it just said Genesis, the verse on it. But it had this. It was a camouflage hat. Had a beautiful embroidered duck, deer. I think it was a trout. All kinds of stuff on it. Like it just looked beautiful. I wore that hat for years and years and years. Knowing what you know now, how would you set up a shipping container? Ooh, that is about as open-ended as a question can be. House of hydrofoggers, PVC and wood shelving. I mean, everything you see in my videos, I would just outfit it in there, maybe insulate it some, or put it under the ground and shore up the supports because they're not made to take that kind of weight of being underground. Or berm it on 3 sides, have an open end, and then paint the top white. And then just do the same guts that I do here. Hey, can I get your WhatsApp? I'm from India. I don't have WhatsApp. I don't use WhatsApp. And I don't give out my personal information without knowing the reason for needing my personal information. Not to try to be rude. I'm, just this way I am. Xbox, play some StarCraft 2. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, so I need to get back on there. It's just so much easier to pick up and play a match of Apex for like 5 minutes or 15, whatever, and then sit down. StarCraft matches can last a long time, but you're right. I do need to get on there. Do you ever steam sterilize your spawn or only PC? Only pressure cooked. Steam sterilize is actually a misnomer. It would be steam pasteurized, and pasteurization is not acceptable for spawn. We did run a trial one time where we ran steamed bags, and the first transfer. Do not you get those off the table, and you better put those ducklings up and wash your hands and then eat.
Oh, we already ate.
Okay, never mind then. So PC is the only way to do it if you're going to transfer. But we did steam pasteurize grain bags one time, and the first generation worked okay. Do you ever have any rust issues in your atmospheric steamer? Yeah, the thing is completely rust on the inside. We tried to move. We moved our old one from the house over here, and I picked it up, and the bottom about fell out of it. So I had to like pick it up in such a way, like we still have the same original bottom in there, kinda part of it at least, but it's definitely being supported as a bottom. It is not a good strong floor anymore. Let's see. If when the legal landscape changes for psilocybes, would you consider including them into your business model? I predict regulation might make it not as worth it compared to gourmet. I would consider it. I would absolutely consider it. I have no problem with the psychedelics whatsoever, except that their legality. That is changing. I'm seeing it change across the country. It's following about the same model, but you got to remember in Tennessee, weed's still not legal, right? So even though it's legal in how many states now, it's not legal here. So it'll be a very long time before Tennessee does something like mushrooms. So for me, it's not even worth planning on it. Hey, Andrew, do you think I need to worry about spore lung if I dehydrate my oysters and lion's mane indoors, doing about 3 pounds at a time once a week? If you're going to have constant exposure of spores of any type or time, it would be good to not risk it. The question you asked me actually right there is a liability loaded question. Because, I can give you my honest answer, and my honest answer might not be enough to protect you. So the answer I'm forced into is the conservative answer there. Because the last thing I need is someone going, well, Andrew said, and then it turned out not to be okay. The way the doctor explained spore lung to me is everyone has a certain threshold at which once they are exposed in this way for this long, they will have problems. I don't know that you're going to meet your threshold, but I don't know that you're not going to meet your threshold. So if you can, my dehydrator is outside. It's outdoors. So if you can, put your dehydrator outdoors and always limit your exposure to mushrooms, right? Always, like if you guys have ever seen the movie Nausicaa, treat it like they in that movie, like the humans treat the fungal jungle. It's the toxic fungal jungle, that kind of thing. That's what I would do. Do you know everyone in chat is a drug dealer? Yeah, fair enough. How long does substrate and grain last after they have been PC'd? What do you mean last? Like how long can they sit there? Is it sealed? Is it in a clean room? Is the filter patch exposed? How long did you pressure cook it for? What is your why do you need to I don't know. That's open-ended. That's not something I can really do super well. How many pounds of grain do you use in your substrate and grain spawn bags? Okay, so I take a bucket, I pour oats into it, I fill it up with hot water, add yeast to it, let it sit overnight, drain it. Once it's drained, I add 5 pounds to each bag. That 5-pound bag then gets cooked. And I can use 1 5-pound bag to 50 12-pound blocks. So there's that. Hope that answers your question, Ira. By the way, that's my father-in-law's name. Saltine Cracker. I have construction lung from not wearing dust mask while working for years. Man, isn't it terrible? Because like ever since I've gotten spore lung, I find that like I don't have the lung capacity I used to. And I have reactive airway disease already. That's what got me kicked out of boot camp. And yeah, like certain times of years, there's just a constant crackle coming from my lungs where I'm breathing and I just have this crackling sound going on. And it just happens. Like something will hit it and it'll trigger that sensitivity. Have you ever looked into moss piglets? I have never heard of moss piglets. What are moss piglets? You have Steam on PC? Yeah. Used to. I think I deleted it because my C drive is full from all the videos. But my F drive is open. I could probably just reinstall it on my F drive.
I thought you had Steam.
Ooh, my battery is going to run out on my phone soon. I'm going to turn that chat off. I do have Steam. I don't know if it's still on the computer.
Oh, we have StarCraft.
I do have StarCraft, but that's not on Steam.
Oh.
That's Blizzard. Oh my God, I love you mentioned Nausicaa. I plan to raise my kids on Ghibli Disney movies. Yeah, man, we love Ghibli. They're so fungal. Man, we loaned them out years ago. We had all of them up to that point, and we loaned them all out and never got them back. And then we've been rebuilding it. That and Cowboy Bebop. I haven't watched Cowboy Bebop in about 2 years, but that's one of my favorites. Hell no, some of us have never tried the psilocybes. I figured not everybody on here is a dealer. Why do you use oats over corn for spawn, or I'm mistaken? And yes, the drug dealer comment was out of line. Yeah, I kind of figured it. You kind of take that stuff as it comes. I use oats because they have a high protein and low sugar content. Lol about the Steam. Before I run, just wanted to say I appreciate the live Q&A and info. You guys are gems. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being on the chat, making it pleasurable. Faced with getting tissue cultures from second flushes, worth the effort. If you don't have any other way of getting the culture, it's absolutely worth it. If you already have the cultures, then you shouldn't need to go clone your second flushes. But second flush can be just as nice as a first flush. Kind of creepy looking them up. Moss piglets. I will have to do that later, I guess. Oh boy, Cowboy Bebop, same creator made Samurai Champloo. I'm actually watching Samurai Champloo right now. I've never.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know that I like me letting you watch it though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any 13-year-old boy needs to watch Samurai Champloo, but as long as you're being mature about it, I'm going to let you watch it. Do you and your family have a garden going this year? Yes, Saltine. We have
Huge one.
a huge one. Yeah, there. We have right now. I have 1,500 tomato plants. Yeah, you guys are fine. I have 1,500 tomato plants going right now in pots and plugs. About 700 peppers, and we'll be doing. I have another 3,000 tomato plants to plug up. So it is. Yes, we're putting in one heck of a garden. Not to mention, Saltine, that my family plot up at my Nana's house, I think my cousin doubled its size. I got the tiller out, and as soon as all this COVID stuff started happening, he just started laying in plans to expand the garden. He's also a maintenance tech, so he's been working to build everybody, like making sure everybody has their ARs and all that kind of stuff. So do you and your so in comparison, would you say oats have a higher nutritional content than oats? You mean corn? Oats have a higher nutritional content than corn? I would say that. Not in everything, but in the things that matter to me in mushroom growing. Not to mention that oats are far sturdier and take way more abuse than corn. Corn tends to blow up, where oats have some sturdiness to them. I love you more every day, Andrew. Such a wonderful human being. Thank you very much, John. I really appreciate that. Love you too, bro. Are you growing tomato plants supplemented with mycelium for that doubling effect? So those who follow my personal Instagram page will have seen that I have been injecting liquid culture, wine cap liquid culture into my tomato plug packs. I do indeed do that. So, what's all in the mini farm kits? Really, it's just a fruiting block with a plastic sheet and instruction page. Anymore, I actually need to change it to where people don't have the spray bottle option on there anymore because I don't have spray bottles anymore. So, what is AR? Sorry, the AR is a type of a weapon. It's a gun. Sorry, I meant rye, brother. Oh, so I don't know about rye. I can get oats here all year long because they're grown in East Tennessee. So the co-ops always have them. I don't know about the rye. Excuse me. I haven't done much on the lookup of the content of rye. I know oats have higher nitrogen content, primarily because they have a higher protein content. What's this tomato plus mycelium thing, Fun Squid? Well, there you go. Ira says, how did you acquire your customer base? You said you sell to chefs, restaurants. Did you start at farmers market? We did start the first few years at farmers markets. That's where we got our first chefs at, mainly servicing the food trucks that are there, and then started having chefs come and buy from us at market. Most chefs didn't want to buy from us because they were saying that all small mushroom growers are inconsistent. So Samantha and Ben and I really worked to create a consistent production schedule and a consistent way of growing mushrooms and having them available on the regular, consistently. And we started changing chefs' minds bit by bit. It was a slow process at first. It's very slow. It's very easy to get discouraged. But once you started really working into it, you just started chasing specials at first. Then you started showing that you were reliable and you were there every week with mushrooms. The biggest thing was just selling the chefs on, if you will say that you'll buy a case a week, I can grow a case a week and I can grow it just for you. I'll reserve the space in my grow room just for you. And that seemed like that probably made more sense than any of them. It's like, look, man, if I can stop chasing specials, I can be as consistent as you want me to be. But when your ordering is not consistent, how in the world am I supposed to produce consistently? Is the LC with tomatoes for getting mush fruit or mycorrhizal effect? Both. Samantha and I did a small-scale study 5 years ago. We grew tomato plants in pots, and we put them out. We measured the sunlight, the daylight hours in different places, and put test plants right next to control group plants. Had them in pots because we couldn't figure out a way. If we planted 2 tomato plants on the ground next to each other, one had wine cap mycelium, then the other one's going to get wine cap mycelium as the wine cap grows. So the only way to really test it was to take them out of the ground, right? So we put them in pots. We made up the exact same substrates for the tomatoes to grow into. Each plant got the exact same amount of water every day. And the plants that had the wine cap mycelium planted with them grew almost twice as fast. They tolerated heat. They didn't have as much heat stress as the plants that didn't have. Like the plants that didn't have the wine cap would wilt a lot more. I think that it's primarily a water conservation effect more than it may have been, because pots are, tend to be really water finicky. So I think that the wine cap protected the tomatoes from rapid water loss in the soil. If that is all that was, that's enough to keep doing it. But I don't think that was all it was. The tomato plants that had the wine cap had tobacco mosaic virus at a much less rate. They had I can't remember the rest of the study all of a sudden. Anyways, it was just one of those things. They worked so much better, so we just kept up going with it. What is your favorite mycelium in terms of aesthetic beauty? So I'm in a group called the Agar of Asgard, I think it is. and it's a bunch of people primarily growing psychedelics, but they have different agar recipes and stuff. That's why. So, just FYI, if you know who's been making the best agar recipes, who has got the best breeding techniques for mushrooms, who is really on the forefront of most things, it's the guys growing the psychedelic stuff. So I'm in these groups, even though I don't grow psychedelics, and I get hit up all the time. Oh my gosh, guys, it's all the time. Every day I've got a message or two. Hey, I saw you're in this group. You sell? No, I don't sell. I don't even grow. I'm just here for the information because these guys know what they're doing. But I will say that the rhizomorphic growth of some of these psychedelic varieties it's stunning. It's like artwork. It's beautiful. So I would say, like, as far as aesthetic beauty, those are probably my favorite. Even though I don't get to see that much on my own. Crazy idea, using beans instead of grain spawn. I have a bag of pinto splits I found on the road I'm going to try out. Probably not economical, but I'm curious to experiment. You can get from restaurant suppliers, you can get 50-pound bags of beans cheap. Maybe that's a good place to try that. Last question of the night. Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely, Squid. If one mycelium is racing across the agar faster than the others, does that necessarily mean better fruit? No. Usually means faster fruit, but it doesn't necessarily mean better fruit. Time for dinner. You and your family have a good night and stay safe. You too, Saltine. Take it easy, man. Could you use Oyster LSC instead of wine cap? Sounds like it from your experiment. No. The oyster that we did, when we planted oyster mycelium, or tomatoes in fresh oyster mycelium, most of the tomato plants died. So it did not work that well. I had a DIY fungal dominated compost, totally beat Miracle Grow hands down. Yeah, man, it's like magic. It's crazy. Well, whenever I tell people I grow gourmet mushrooms, people always ask about magic mushrooms. Well, yeah, it's exactly the way it is. Agar of Asgard is amazing. Just makes us feel like amateurs sometimes. Yeah, man. And Misty. Oh my goodness. Misty, she's very aesthetically pleasing. Sorry. No. I'm sure Misty is aesthetically pleasing. I don't actually know what she looks like. What I mean by that is that her work is aesthetically pleasing. Please. Oh my gosh. It's time for me to stop. After 20 plus years in IT, I don't doubt the psychedelic guys are the best there is. Same thing we found in IT with the porn guys. It's the same thing I've seen with plants in the weed with the weed guys. Like back in the early 2000s, right? Those guys, they were really on it. They were some of the best botanists out there. Now it's kind of percolated. Maybe they still are. I don't know. But yeah, I don't doubt that one bit, Chris. I'm from Massachusetts. I don't hear my neighbors stocking up with guns. Maybe we're more naive. I don't know, man. For one thing, you got to remember East Tennessee, Scots Irish. We are a warrior culture through and through. Even now, when we've lost most of our culture, you get the distrust of government still. Scots Irish were oppressed by the Scottish and the English government for about 400 years, and then moved to Ireland and oppressed by the English, then moved to America and oppressed by the English, then moved between the English and the Indians to be used as basically like these guys are kind of border, like kind of civilized, so we can use them like a fence to protect us against the Indians. So you can get a strong, like when you get that many hundreds of years of selective breeding for war and paranoia, probably gonna have a warlike and paranoid people by the end of it. So a lot of people here are warlike and paranoid and don't even know why. That said, there's going to be supply chain issues for the rest of the year. It doesn't matter how strong they are. There's been disruptions. That's going to have a rippling effect. I don't think we're going to see famines. I don't think we're going to have a problem, but it never pays to have a good garden. And I don't tend to focus on ARs and stuff. I'm a shotgun guy myself. Well, about psychedelics, I learned most of what I know from the shroomery and psychedelic growers. That's part of why I'm trying the monotubs, even with oysters. Yeah, that's where I learned most of my stuff. Shroomery was the only thing that really existed back in the day. Mycotopia, something like that. That's archive now. But what was the thing back then? You're very welcome, Campbell. Thank you. looking forward to learning. Glad I found your channel. Thank you, Kat. Glad you could join us. Would portobello mycelium benefit plants and pots? That I have no idea on. It is less aggressive, as in, like, it's not as opportunistic as oysters. So I think it'd be pretty safe because it's pretty wine cappy in its growth habit. It's not necessarily, I don't know what its opportunistic opportunistic symbiote like status would be. Like wine cap is a oh my gosh, Eater of the Dead. I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden, but it eats dead material and then is opportunistically form symbiotic pairings. I don't know what portobello does, but if it's just a water thing, like I was thinking, I think most mycelium types that don't kill the plant would work, because most mycelium is going to suck up water like a sponge and then slow release it throughout the day during the dry period in the form of metabolites, which may actually help plants, because there are certainly minerals and things. Saprophytic, thank you. They will certainly have nutrients in metabolites that plants may enjoy. So I don't know. I think the fringe groups are the most open to experiment, therefore have the most nuanced techniques. I think you're right. The problem is they have no standards, which is where you get the mainstream, right? So I try to position myself as a not a barbarian on the fringe and not a civilized person deep in the way things are done for the sake of being done that way. Instead, I try to think of myself as being a fishing village, right? Like we here at Mossy Creek Mushrooms are a fishing village or a harbor. We live in the in-between. We try to live in between the fringe and the civilized types, right? Between the barbarians and the open void of the ocean and the civilization on the other side, which allows us to kind of be go-betweens. Like we get to go to these places and learn their techniques and bring them back and then make them more easily digestible and put them into practice. And that's kind of what I try to look at that. So I think you're right. I think that they are more nuanced, but then they lack the standards. And I like standards. I don't want to give that up. So I don't want to be too far fringe, but I want to be fringe enough. So I want a little added chaos in my life for that creativity. Then they were, what? Lance, then they were shipped to Australia to do time. Oh, the Scots Irish. Yes, they were. Yeah, they were. They were indeed. It's actually really funny because people think of like the gun states. You got Tennessee, North Georgia, Kentucky, parts of Virginia, West Virginia, Texas, Arkansas, like northern Arkansas. Those are all Scots Irish. That whole Bible belt, right, from Texas all the way over to western North Carolina, then some up the Appalachian spine, Australia. My family name Reed. My maternal grandfather, was doing family history, and I think he said that during his studies, he was finding that there is only one last name, one surname that is found on every single continent in the world. He may have said minus Antarctica, but I don't remember him saying that. And that is the last name Reed. And it was in part because the Reeds fought on the Robertsons, for the Robertsons in the Jacobite Rebellion. Then the clan was destroyed. The clan seat was destroyed, and all Reeds and Robertsons and everything were supposedly cast out. I don't really know. But you find Reeds in like, was it Hong Kong? You find Reeds like everywhere where there was like English influence, where corners of the world. That's where they went. So that's, see what happened. And they went to Australia. They went to South Africa. They went to North Africa. They went to, just India, everywhere. It's, that warlike fringe crazy people, they kind of go everywhere. Should be able to culture portobellos from the store, right? Spore. So that is notoriously, people do it. But it is not the best way to go. Really, it's gonna probably be cheaper in terms of your time and mindset to just buy a portobello culture in from somewhere. Amityville has got great strains. You can buy like a case of Amityville spawn for like $60. It's like I don't even know. It's like 60 pounds or something like that. Maybe $100, but you get 60 pounds of spawn. That's not what you need for a culture, but that's cheaper than some cultures, and it's in a readily clonable format. Lambert's has a lot of portobellos and buttons. And Lambert's has got some of the best oyster strains on the market. But you have to call. I think you have to place an order. Used to be you had to mail in a check and wait till the check cleared, and then they would finally ship it out to you. So it would take weeks to get the spawn. Now I think they take credit card over the phone. But anyways, their 123 is the progenitor of my blue strain. I took the spores from that one, isolated a culture, and used that one. Their gold is one of the few gold strains, not the only one, but one of the few gold strains. So I'll stand on a step stool and pick gold oysters from Lambert's and just toss them into a box. Most people who have grown golds know that they typically shred apart. The Lambert's doesn't. It will like bounce and then come back up. It doesn't fall apart. And then their Italian oyster is pretty good. It's a good Italian oyster. I'm not big on Italian oysters, but that was a good one. That one had kind of a root beer smell to it. Weird, but even the chefs would talk about it. Yeah, baby.
This is what happens when you let Brody Collier paint with you.
Oh my gosh.
And Collier got it. Collier did a big stroke on Brody's face.
No, what is your mom in there watching you guys?
Yeah.
And she's letting this happen? And if she's letting this happen, then I'm not. That's fine.
Brody's watching it all.
Okay.
And I accidentally did it once.
Oh, yeah, I see that. You guys painting the lab?
Yes.
No, thank you for painting my lab for me.
It looks great, Daddy. You should
Good.
go and check it out.
I'm going to go check it out here in just a minute. I'm about to answer the last of this question, and then I'm going to eat my lunch, dinner, and then I'm going to go in there with you guys, okay?
Okay.
All right.
We'll be scrubbing the floor.
That sounds good. You should do that.
Brody and Collier's like paint all over.
Well, you better do it now before it dries.
I know.
What is your Agar storing procedure? For Ira, can you specify? You talking about in plate, like already sterilized, or are you discussing dry storage? What's your go-to Agar recipe? 10 grams agar, 10 grams malt extract, 1 gram each of hardwood fuel pellets and soybean hull pellets, and then 500 milliliters of water. Cooked to put into an aromatic flask and stirred. Polyfilled the top, aluminum foil cap, pressure cooked at 15 psi for 30 minutes. Let cool, and then warm back up on a hot plate a couple days later. Oh my God, that's the sexiest woman I've ever seen. Where are you going?
Don't look at your office for a while, okay?
Don't look at my office for a while?
Yep.
Aislinn just came in here and showed splattered paint everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
We're gonna scrub the floor.
I went, is your mom watching you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, never mind, fine. Just, that's,
Well, you know,
You
three
guys-
little children that wanted to help, and I didn't have the heart to say no. So
it's my office. We'll just have my kids touch. That's fine. Fringe Enough, another t-shirt. I like that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make that. Fringe Enough. My forebears in Austin. Oh, Australia or Austin, like Austin. Can you inoculate oyster mushrooms in pre-made sterilized Midwest grow BRF vermiculite worm casting jars? I don't know what their jars are. I don't know. So maybe we'll see. Lunch equals dinner. Well, yeah, exactly. Are you still doing single hour consults? Dude, if you need one, man, yeah, just do it. We'll do a single hour consult. No big deal. And then use the spawn in a master mix substrate. I don't know, Gary. I'd have to see what they are. So you're talking about in a plate, Ira. Okay. The plate agar, there's two different ways you can do it. Actually, well, there's a ton of those. By the way, Gary, knowledge says don't buy those jars from Midwest. I don't know why. I haven't seen them, but it sounds like he knows not to buy them. So, to answer your question, you can fit 3 to 4 dishes at a time into a sandwich baggie. Sandwich baggies are not sterile, but they are very close. I did that for years. Another way you can do it, though time-consuming and a terrible waste of time, in my opinion, is to parafilm every single dish. I don't like that. I prefer the Ziploc bags over that. Just make sure you get one with a really good, like, don't skimp. Don't get the cheap ones. Get a really nice seal on those bags. The other way is the sleeve that your dishes come in. If you cut as close to the top as you can, don't tear it like they tell you to. Cut at the very top after having alcoholed everything down. Leave that open in your fan, your HEPA flow. Pour your dishes. Take that sleeve, put it back over, take it, seal it with your bag sealer, done. You're saving it in the sterile container it already came in. That's the way I do it now. That's the way I ship them in typically, unless I'm shipping certain amounts. You have me worried.
You may not.
I don't think anybody can see that.
Put one drop of paint on the floor that then turned into bunches of paint.
Great. Oh, man. This was their description. We have combined special organic brown rice flour. This was their description. We have combined special organic brown rice flour with vermiculite, mineral water, liquid worm castings, and bee pollen to create the ultimate mushroom growing jars. That sounds ridiculously complicated for no reason. Hi there. Is there any way to reduce the brown liquid mushy digest that can form inside the substrate for mushroom growth? Why do you need to reduce it? Metabolites are how mushrooms eat. Just from an ingredient perspective. Yeah, so for oysters, it would work, but it wouldn't be what you want to do. I use Tupperware with synthetic filter discs for Petri plates. They work really well for sterility, even if less economical than plastic pre-sterilized plates. Yeah, I mean, that works for sure. Less weight? Okay, less waste. You mean less waste of the liquid? That's not all waste. The metabolites, I mean, it's literally like metabolite. It's their digestive process. So a lot of times they'll leak that stuff out, let it sit and soak it back up. It's not just a static, it's not like pee, right? We pee, we don't bring that back in our bodies. Mushrooms is basically stomach acid. They leak stomach acid and suck it back up. So with that, guys, I'm really tired. We've done an hour and a half on this one, and then I don't even remember how long the other one was. So I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to eat food. So how do we normally do this? Check out all my social media, Mossy Creek Mushrooms stuff. And we're not going to really throw it into it tonight, right? So as always, y'all, keep spawning culture. Good night.